have to bear with my bad voice and sneezing and cough and cold. I was requesting Preeti if we can skip, but then she was like, नहीं यार नुकसान हो जाएगा बच्चों का. मैंने कहा सच में हो जाएगा, चलते हैं. So here I am, and the topic given to me was impact of sarcopenia in ICU. First of all, let me thank the IPEN Indore chapter, Preeti, Dr. Chamania sir, and Ravi Doshi sir, and Madhav for inviting me for this session. Can I ask a few questions, because unless it is an interactive session, it won't be of much help to you guys. Who all are in ICU? Who all take care of the ICU? Sir, as a dietitian, who normally takes the ICU rounds? Who all are there? Okay, so when Vibhuti was sharing SARCF करना है ICU patient को, is it possible? Would you be able to make the patient walk? Would you be able to make the patient sit on chair? So SARCF is little difficult when a patient is there in ICU. So there are certain things that you have to consider when you are doing an assessment for the patient who are in ICU. I just... So we all know that every patient who is in ICU is at a risk for malnutrition. Regular screening of malnutrition is important. Close monitoring and frequent adaptation for whatever nutrition that you are providing is to be done. That is what we want. A regular visit in the ICU and monitoring of the feeds is important. Micronutrients as and when they are mandatory, or if the patient is on parenteral nutrition, you have to give the micronutrients as well. And make sure that it is tailor-made or individually specific to that condition, whichever the patient is there in the ICU for. We know that all the conditions that are written here, we often see them in our ICUs, and we know that if the patient is going to be there for more than 7 days, there is a risk of malnutrition, and if there is no mobility, the sarcopenia will set in. So this is a picture diagram, little busy slide here. You can see that if the patient is coming to you with malnutrition, which is an acute condition, and there is the phase, if you are not able to give the enough nutrition, patient will end up getting discharged in a malnutrition state, and at home, if the care is not properly being given, readmissions are often seen. I'm sure you have seen patients discharge 4 दिन बाद वापस patient hospital में आता है with more badder state. So nutrition at the time of hospital admission and at discharge is equally important, and a follow-up if possible. I know we are struggling with patient is to dietitian ratio, but if it is possible, make sure that you are asking your patient to give a follow-up call to you if possible. Those patients who are really sick or who are on RT feeds, उनका तो हम कर ही सकते हैं. Those who are not on RT feeds, oral feeds पे हैं, तो उनका हम इतना ज़्यादा चिंता नहीं करते. But cases where CVA is there, they are going to be in that condition for a longer period. उनका ज़्यादा follow-up हमें लेना चाहिए. So what is the status? Prevalence is 41% in critically ill patient, that is what the research says, and up to 43% prevalence is in patient who are on mechanical ventilation, ventilated state. अभी विभूति मैम के सेशन में हमने देखा था ये दो चीजें. There is a difference, है ना? One is सूप पिया है, one is cachexia, and other is sarcopenia. So you have to be very careful on these parameters. I'm just reiterating what Vibhuti has given the difference. this will give you a clear picture कि कहाँ पर हमें ज़्यादा न्यूट्रिशन फोकस काउंसलिंग करने की ज़रूरत है. डेफिनेशन आपको पता है, बॉडी वेट यू कैन सी इट, फैट मास आपको देखकर समझ में आ जाता है. बहुत ज़्यादा कोई भी BIA या कोई सोनोग्राफी कुछ भी करने की ज़रूरत नहीं. यू कैन जस्ट सी फ्रॉम दोज पिक्चर्स ऑल्सो कि पेशेंट की क्या स्टेटस है आपके. Causes can be if it is sarcopenia, it can be aging, because that is what we are seeing nowadays in our ICU cases, where patients are actually old age, sarcopenia and comorbid conditions. So these, if you want to take a picture, you can have a snap of it. Physical appearance, there can be a overlap between sarcopenia, cachexia and frailty at the same time. A same patient can have multiple comorbidities and all three together. So what are the clinical consequences of sarcopenia in ICU? There is increased mortality rate. We all know that if a patient is malnourished, is sarcopenic, is frail, is cachexic, the risk of mortality is more. Prolonged ICU stay. We don't want the patient to be in ICU for longer days. But if the patient has all the conditions, he will be there in ICU for longer time. There will be a difficulty in weaning off from the ventilation. It will take time. Doctors won't be able to wean off the patient. Increased need of dialysis. There are studies which say that it is likely more requiring dialysis if the patient is in sarcopenia state. Obviously, higher healthcare cost. We all are worried when we fight with the consultant regarding the formula feed and the kitchen feed. The functional decline will be there. Like us, the physiotherapy department is also equally struggling with the patient and their ratio. So for them also to handle and give that much of care which is required is a challenge. Then impact on other outcomes. Sarcopenia can worsen other outcomes like sepsis, infection and neuropathy. Now why all of this is happening? Critically, patients often experience muscle wasting due to inflammation, immobility and malnutrition altogether. Pre-existing sarcopenia can be a chronic condition that can worsen the critical illness. Reduced muscle mass and strength can impair respiratory function, immune response and overall recovery. आज भी ICU अगर जाओगे तो एक या दो पेशेंट आपको इन सब के साथ मिल ही जाएगा. Now what are the screening and assessment tools that you can use if you have the time in hand? Screening is SARC-F if the patient is not in ICU but is just in the ward and is comfortable for all the steps that are being given in the SARC-F assessment. You can do a Nutrix score or you can do a MUST assessment. You can do a hand grip, muscle ultrasound, CT, BIA or SGA, that is what we do in normal settings. Diagnostic criteria based on these two, that is European Working Group on Sarcopenia in Older People and ESPEC 2020. These guidelines you can use to define the diagnostic criteria. Now what are the management strategies in ICU that you can use? Nutrition intervention. As soon as you get a green signal from your consultant, start the feeds. Early feed is the best thing. You also have to make sure that you are giving enough protein that is required for that patient. We know that we don't use indirect calorimetry, so a predictive equation is a better choice at the current state. So early mobilization, again depending on the condition of the patient, you can decide or discuss with the consultant if the physiotherapist is not there. Exercise and neuromuscular intervention. Again, this is not our part. Probably the next speaker will be taking care of these two aspects. So I'll not be giving much highlights into it. But make sure that if a physiotherapy is going on, make sure that your nutrition is enough so that it is properly being use, whatever efforts you are doing or whatever the physiotherapist is doing, it is being properly benefited to the patient. Now let's understand 3 or 5 cases that we normally see in the ICU. First is sepsis plus sarcopenia. What we normally do, like Dr. Preeti was telling me, there will be a lot of students. So if it is a sepsis and a sarcopenia, can we have a PS statement? Problem will be muscle wasting and weakness. Etiology will be sepsis-induced catabolism and immobility, and symptom will be, can be a low skeletal muscle mass and a hand grip can be lesser than 8. This can be a PA statement. So based on this, what strategies would you be doing? क्या करते हो यार, अगर ये केस आ गया सामने तो क्या करोगे? ये केस है, सेप्सिस है, सार्कोपीनिया, अब क्या करोगे? SGA करोगे. Based on that you will decide कि आपको क्या करना है. प्रोडक्टिव इक्वेशन लगाओगे, 25 कैलोरीज देनी है, 30 कैलोरीज देनी है, 28 देनी है, 22 देनी है, कितनी देनी है. Based on that you will calculate. Then you will calculate the protein need, and based on other comorbid conditions you will decide on what kind of formula should be given, or what kind of kitchen feed or what volume should be given based on the output of the patient. So this is a simple chart. Prevalence, it is, this kind of a condition is more prevalent in elderly patients. Outcome क्या होगा? Increased mortality हो सकती है, prolonged ICU stay होगा, ventilator dependence हो सकता है. Energy requirement is 25 to 30 kilocalories per kg per day. Protein requirement, यहाँ पर you have to be very cautious based on the patient's intake for last 7 days. You have to decide how much protein you have to start. You can start with 0.8 and gradually up titrate based on the tolerance of the patient. You have to look for the diarrheal or abdominal distension condition. Preferred protein sources, HMB enriched. Feeding route, early enteral feeds within 24 hours to 48 hours of the admission. Antioxidants if possible. Weight, ideal body weight base पर calculation करना है, जो भी करना है, and monitor refeeding risk and avoid overfeeding. So the next case is Sir's specialty, COPD and sarcopenia. So a PA statement is reduced muscle mass and overall muscle mass, chronic inflammation and is on steroid, SARC-F is less than or equal to 5 and hand grip is less than 10 kgs. क्या करेंगे? Same strategy. What is the prevalence? The prevalence is 15 to 30% of the patients are with sarcopenia, those who are with COPD. This condition can worsen the state of the patient. Weaning will be difficult and re-hospitalization is often. Again, protein requirement is 1.2 to 1.8. This is the requirement. This is the requirement. That doesn't mean you have to start from this. Energy requirement is little high with COPD cases. Preferred protein sources are whey for better absorption. Oral or enteral depending on how much the patient is off the BiPAP. Omega-3 antioxidant, do check the vitamin D levels, and again ideal body weight should be considered. Watch for CO2 retention. Prefer a low carb diet or low carb feeds. Why? Because it helps reduce the amount of CO2 produced during metabolism. AKI and sarcopenia, this is also very common. So I have taken only the common ones which we normally see in the eyes. हाँ जी sir.
This one.
I have to correct something?
No, not correct. One very important observation I feel.
I'll go back.
All these things which you have mentioned over here ना, अभी तक वो सारे अटेंडर मुझे पकड़ देते हैं, मुझे सब आपके पास ये मेरा करना नहीं, ये all the time. Because these are the biggest issues that we are seeing with COPD patients.
लास्ट वाला है ना
हाँ
उसको हाईलाइटली एक्सप्लेन करो
अच्छा सर करेंगे सर मेरे को बाकी सारे खत्म करके वो बेल बजा देंगे ओके
Usually we know respiratory quotient, with the carbohydrate it is 1. So it is the ratio of how much CO2 is produced. So if respiratory quotient is 1, then the maximum amount of CO2 is produced. And this protein and fat, their quotient is 7.7. So they produce less. So if you want to wean off from the ventilator, they say theoretically, I don't know practically, but theoretically you should give the low carb.
So we also agree to that, but now the recent guidelines somehow they have
They
changed.
don't.
Recently there has been some change.
The
in
only
order to
thing which is
avoid
that
that.
in the
But
ICU.
whatever the SPEN current guidelines, I have taken it from there.
No, no, no.
Probably.
This is okay, but one thing once you have written, you have to explain why.
Okay. So you don't have to put more stress on the patient's lungs, and you have to monitor how much of oxygen flow is to be maintained. If it is patient is exerting, you will not be able to wean off the patient from the BiPAP. That is the basic concept. What is rightly explained by sir. So AKI and sarcopenia, muscle protein breakdown, and continuous renal replacement therapy, a high catabolic state, there is a shift in fluid status, and reduced limb circumference, specifically MUAC, and increased nitrogen loss. That is what is AKI and sarcopenia status can be seen. So recommendation is protein target should be 1.2 to 1.5. Again, make sure that it is just a target. Weight basis, prefer ideal body weight, especially if there is a fluid overload or the patient is sarcopenic. Personalization, adjust protein based on sex, lean mass estimation, renal function and inflammation, and track urea level, nitrogen balance and sign of overfeeding. Make sure that you are also monitoring the ammonia levels. Rationale to this is using ideal body weight provides a safer and more physiologically accurate estimation of protein needs to avoid underfeeding in sarcopenic and underweight patients and prevent nitrogen overload in those with reduced renal clearance. This is cirrhosis and sarcopenia. PES statement is muscle loss with impaired ammonia detoxification. Etiology is inflammation, poor intake and ascites. Symptom is low serum BCAA levels and low albumin and low hunger. We have all seen the patient with cirrhosis in our hospital. So the strategy would be, what is the prevalence? 40 to 70% of the cirrhotic patients will have sarcopenia. The impact on outcome will be high mortality, infection and ultimately hepatic encephalopathy. Protein requirement is 1.2 to 1.5. Energy requirement is little high here, that is 30 to 35. Preferred protein source is branched chain amino acid and plant-based protein preferred. That is what the guideline says. Again, early enteral, avoid prolonged fasting. We all know that fasting is not a good thing for your liver health. Late evening snacks, if patient is taking orally, you can suggest. And again, micronutrients should be balanced. Sarcopenic obesity, we see this condition also, reduced muscle mass marked by obesity, inflammation and insulin resistance will be there. The BMI is greater than 30. Ultrasound suggests that.
Last one is not correct.
Which one, sir?
BMI more than. I have a normal
Sir,
BMI.
मेरा case है.
No. But I'm just saying, this concept that my BMI is normal, but if I do my BCA, my muscle mass is less and I am 15%.
Sir, age factor.
No. Anybody, now what we used to do, anybody says that my BMI is normal, I am normal. But now we see that once you started doing
Muscle
body
composition.
you see the ratio of your fat body weight is much higher, and that is why that's the problem. So you can have sarcopenic obesity with a normal weight. This you
Yes,
should
sir.
understand.
But if we have the
No, no.
BCA
What-
at our
huh?
hospital set up to actually tell the patient that yes, this is because of this.
अरे बाबा मैं हर भी खड़ी हर 6 महीने में जाता हूँ, मेरा कितना भी प्रोटीन खाऊं, कितनी भी स्विमिंग करूं, ये कहती सर फिर से थोड़ा फैट बढ़ गया.
Okay, so these
what
are
sarcopenic obesity
Ah.
doesn't mean you have to be over.
be overweight. Yeah,
This
BMI
may be
should be
30
more.
and this may be less than.
Can be, yeah. So this is the strategy.
वो भी explain करो. Why do you want? इसके पहले वाले में why do you want to give more BCAAL2?
So this plays a crucial role in muscle protein synthesis and energy. मुझे पता था आप पूछोगे इसलिए मैंने पहले से ध्यान रखा.
क्या क्या? नहीं ऐसा नहीं. तो माइक है. In liver, the protein metabolism of BCCA is in the muscle. So if liver failure is there, then if you give higher percentage of BCCA, they are metabolized in the muscle. Muscle, not in the liver, putting not much load. So that's why if you see a HIPAA oral product or IV product, they have 45% of BCCA. But normal thing would only will have a 25%. And similarly in the renal one, protein replacement should be as much as essential protein, up to 70%.
If the consultant allows us to give that much of
And
protein,
one
we are
difference
still
is if the
struggling.
person is in dialysis, there is no protein restriction, but if it is not in the dialysis, then you have to go very low in the protein.
So this is a little idea about how to do a adjusted body weight calculation. Since I was being informed that students will be there, if you want you can take a picture of it. So general principle across condition would be early nutrition screening, prefer enteral over parenteral feeding, protein intake around 1.2 to 2 kgs. Grams per kg body weight, supplementation as and when required, combined with progressive resistance and aerobic exercises. In nutshell, sarcopenia acts as a significant risk factor for poor outcome in the ICU, highlighting the importance of early identification and management of muscle loss in vulnerable population. Thank you so much. These are the Thank you.